Yo guys, InsaneGamer52 here, and today I'm going to show you everything you need to know about the 4 different raid bosses in the Chaos Chamber. Alright, so there are 3 raid bosses that you can unlock during your run through the Chaos Chamber, and a secret 4th one that you can unlock later on. So the way to unlock the first 3 is by finding these glowing colored symbols in one of the maps before the final boss fight. I've only ever found 1 per map, and unfortunately you are not guaranteed to get all 3 in one run. Once you find these symbols, simply interact with it and complete a little puzzle, and you'll unlock the ability to fight that raid boss after you defeat the final boss of the Chaos Chamber. When you interact with the blue symbol, it will fly to a section of the map and drop a pool with 3 balls floating above it. Walk near the pool and it will fly to another location and spawn a huge blue blob. What you have to do is have all players stand in the blue pool for a couple of seconds. This will cause the leftmost ball to fizzle into existence and start following the closest player. You have to escort this ball through the map, then shoot it when it's right next to the giant blob. If the ball touches anything, it will break and you will have to start again. The one exception is it will pass through the portals to the next map. Once you make your way through the map and shoot the ball next to the giant blob, it will explode and you'll briefly see that blue symbol appear in the air. This means that you've correctly completed this puzzle and now have the option to fight this raid boss at the end of the Chaos Chamber. Alright, next let's talk about the green puzzle. This one is by far the most straightforward and easiest to do in my opinion. When you interact with the green symbol, it will fly somewhere on the map and spawn a mushroom. What you need to do is jump on top of that mushroom to start the puzzle. This will make the mushroom start spawning a bunch of spores into the air. With more spores, the more players are in the game. You guys need to shoot whatever spore has the glowing purple nodes on it in order to clear all the spores and move on to the next set. There will be 3 sets in total, and each set will have 1 more spore than the last. To help you out, I've noticed that the last spore that pops out will be the first one that gets the purple nodes. From there, it goes in the order that it popped out, which will always be the closest ones to the ground. It's not a huge help, but since you only have a few seconds to destroy each spore, then knowing which one will be next could be pretty useful. If you do end up missing a spore, the mushroom will fly to another location on the map for you to try again. You have up to 3 chances to shoot all the spores and complete the puzzle. This will show the green symbol in the air to signify that you've unlocked this raid boss at the end of the Chaos Chamber. And the last puzzle is the yellow one. When you interact with this symbol, it will fly somewhere on the map and spawn a giant rock. What you have to do is deal damage to that rock to reveal the runic core inside of it. You need to deal enough damage to this core to destroy it. The core does have a rotating beacon like a lighthouse going around it though. If anyone in the game is caught looking at the core while the beacon flashes over them, it will blind them and deal damage in the area, then move to another location. Just like the other puzzles, you have 3 chances to destroy this one. The light speeds up over time, so you really need to pump out damage quickly to destroy this thing before you're caught in the lighthouse beam. If you are able to deal enough damage, you can one-shot this thing when it's still in rock form and completely skip the runic core phase. Once you destroy it, you will see the yellow symbol appear in the air and will have the option of fighting this raid boss at the end of the Chaos Chamber. Alright, as long as you've unlocked at least one of the raid bosses during the run, you will see 2 portals after defeating the final boss. The yellow one will take you to the treasure room like normal, and the red one will take you to fight the raid bosses. Be warned that you do need to defeat all of your unlocked raid bosses back to back. So if you run out of lives before the end, it will be treated as a normal failure and you will not get to go to the treasure room. Keep in mind that all Dragon Lore curses will still be in effect during these fights, so if you plan on fighting raid bosses, you may want to avoid certain curses throughout your run. Enemies being immune can make things extremely difficult if your build focuses heavily on one damage type, so I would advise staying far away from elemental overload when given the chance. Choosing the red portal will take you to this floating rock in the middle of nowhere. Take the jump lift to a larger rock platform and you will see an astral Tina named the Maker telling you to get out of her domain and sentencing you to super death. This will teleport you to one of the raid bosses that you've unlocked. The order that you fight them is random every time. Just as a forewarning, do not expect to kill these bosses as quickly as I did. For the sake of getting clean footage, I did this run on Chaos 3, but I was running a fully capable Chaos 20 build, so I was outputting way more damage than what was expected at this Chaos level. Alright, let's start with the blue raid boss named Gloopathoth, Keeper of the Abyss. This fight will take place in a cave with rivers of lava everywhere. This fight will start with him throwing 3 snowballs at you, just like the one that you had to escort during his puzzle. This first set you can just shoot and destroy immediately. Side note, if you do find yourself down while these snowballs are in the air, you can destroy them with one shot and they will get you out of Save Your Soul mode. After about 30 seconds, he will go into an astral form and start flying around the map. He will be creating 3 of those giant blobs in different corners of the arena. When he throws his next set of snowballs, try to destroy them right next to the blob. This will stun Gloopathoth and reveal a runic core that you can now attack for massive damage. It will also kill all the enemies so you can solely focus on his core. He will be stunned for about 10 seconds, so make sure to get as much damage in as quickly as you can. When he gets back up, just run over to another one of the blobs and repeat the process as many times as it takes to kill him. You can choose to just damage him normally, but exposing his core really does give you an incredible boost to your damage. Throughout the fight, there will be other hazards making this a little more difficult. Gloopathoth will create fireballs that roll around the area for a short amount of time. This does make it hard to look up and shoot him without getting hit by the fireballs at your feet. I suggest taking short breaks to look at the fireballs and keep track of your surroundings. The lava rivers will also rise and lower when Gloopathoth is in his astral form, which changes the shape of the battlefield and makes it so you may need to take a longer route to get around. The lava does damage you pretty quickly if you go through it, so I would definitely try to avoid it. If you do find yourself in lava, try jumping as you go to the closest shore so that you have brief breaks in damage while you're in the air. Since I was doing this run on a lower chaos level, I was able to finish this fight with only stunning him 3 times. I would expect it to take anywhere from 8 to 10 stuns to get this kill if you're doing it on your current chaos level with an appropriately powered build. Honestly, I think Gloopathoth is the easiest of the bosses since he reveals his core so often to help you pump out massive bursts of damage. If you do end up dying to one of these raid bosses, don't worry, it doesn't act like the normal bosses. You will still lose a life when you travel back to the arena, but you will have all the damage progress from before, so you won't have to completely restart the boss fight. Alright, next let's talk about the green raid boss named Barkenstein, Keeper of Nature. Thankfully, this fight will take place in an open field, so you won't have to worry about any environmental hazards. So Barkenstein has 3 main attacks that he uses for a majority of the fight. All of these deal massive damage, but can also be stopped if you shoot a very specific target. The first of these is a pounce attack. You may notice the small pink runic core in front of his mouth. If you shoot that core, instead of attacking you, he will take a chunk of damage and be stunned for a couple seconds. Although this one is a small target, it's actually the easiest one to hit since it's right in front of you and he pauses for a good duration before pouncing. This is actually my favorite of his attacks since it's so easy to stun him out of and get that chunk of damage off. The same cannot be said for his claw attack. There will be a large runic core in whichever hand he decides to attack you with, but that hand will be off to the side and there is a very short gap for you to be able to hit it before he attacks. For his tail swipe attack, the rune is a little harder to hit as it's at the end of his tail, which can be blocked by his body being in the way. Again, this has a pretty short timing for you to be able to hit the rune and disrupt the attack. Besides those 3 main attacks, he does have another one where he will go to the middle of the arena and start spewing out spores above him. Just like in the puzzle, you have to shoot these spores before they hit the ground. The big difference is that if these hit the ground, you will be severely punished by a massive poison cloud that obscures your vision and deals damage if you walk into it. Unfortunately, you can't get out of Save Your Soul mode by destroying these spores like you could with Gloopathoth's snowballs. These clouds last for a full minute, so I highly recommend switching your aim to destroy at least 3 of them so that you have a big enough area to continue the fight in. If you don't end up destroying any of these spores, there will still be a small area on the edge of the map, but you will have a rough next minute of your fight. Especially if you go down, since it is impossible to spot enemies through the clouds, so you're just blindly firing based on the red dots on the minimap. Once you get Barkenstein's health down, he will go into this toxic enraged state and won't have the runic cores on his next few attacks. He doesn't really pause during these attacks, so I don't think there is a way to disrupt him and stun him like with the normal attacks. I think Barkenstein is the second easiest of the bosses since you can stun him out of basically every attack once you start expecting them and preparing to shoot the stun before the attack even happens. Alright, now let's talk about the yellow raid boss named Bunnidhogg, Keeper of the Sands. This fight takes place in the desert, so again there's no environmental hazards to avoid. The first one of Bunnidhogg's attacks is a flamethrower that leaves a fire pool on the ground. You can tell it's coming when you see a laser coming from his mouth, so you should have enough time to just move out of the area and dodge the attack. The battlefield is huge, so you don't really need to worry about these fire pools if you just move a bit away. The next attack is these giant purple pillars that come out of the ground. You can see them coming by looking for circles of light on the ground around you. The middle pillar will stay on the battlefield and can be destroyed if you damage it enough, but you may want to keep it there to help avoid this next attack. Bunnidhogg will coil up and reveal his runic core. You really want to destroy it in the 5 seconds that it's exposed so that he skips this next attack. He will burrow underground and send a shockwave out that you can easily jump over. This will also start a sandstorm that deals a little bit of damage every so often. You can't avoid this damage, but it doesn't really do much, so I wouldn't worry about it. When Bunnidhogg comes back above ground, now he will have a runic core in front of him as he slithers around the battlefield. This core acts just like the yellow puzzle where it has a rotating lighthouse beam that you don't want to look at. This is where you can use some of those stone pillars from the previous attack to duck behind them and not get blinded. You can also just look away right before the light gets to you. You want to deal enough damage to this core to break it and end the sandstorm. If you don't deal enough damage, the sandstorm and Bunnidhogg slithering around will last for 45 seconds. Bunnidhogg isn't super tough since you can dodge most of his attacks pretty easily, but he is tanky and annoying to hit when he slithers around. Alright, so at this point, if you finished all your raid bosses but only unlocked 1 or 2 of them to fight, then you'll get a good amount of bonus crystals and go to the loot room. But if you unlocked and beat all 3 of the raid bosses, then there's a special 4th boss that you get to fight. When you get back to this platform, you will have to face the Maker. That's right, you're facing the Bunker Master herself, Tiny Tina. This fight takes place on the platform where she talked to you before all of the raid bosses, so make sure to not fall off the edge. One very dangerous thing about this fight is that all of her attacks ignore your shield and deal damage directly to your health. So if you plan on making it to this fight, then I would definitely buy the buff to your max health during your run. And I highly recommend having some way to regenerate your health without having to rely on health potions dropping on the ground. So the Maker really only has 2 moves until the very end of the fight. The first one is releasing these bouncing bunny heads. Even though they're easy to avoid, you want to destroy them as quickly as you can. Thankfully, you can get out of Save Your Soul mode by killing these bunnies. When you destroy one of the bunnies, it will drop an orb that floats there for 10 seconds before exploding. What you want to do is run up to them and melee them to hit them towards the Maker. They don't track her, so try to use them when she's standing still and not moving around so she's easier to hit. This is the best way to deal damage to her, and it can stun her if she's in the animation for her next attack. The only other move the Maker has until the very end of the fight is rolling a 20-sided die to determine what spell she casts. Like I said, if you hit her with one of the bunny orbs while she's rolling, then it will interrupt her attack, and you'll have a bit more time to attack her before she uses the d20 again. There are a couple different spells that she can cast, and the numbers on the die don't actually mean anything. The first spell she can use is creating 3 pillars of flame. You can avoid this if you quickly look at the ground and move out of the way, but it does cast pretty quickly. The next spell is creating columns of air on the ground that can push you off the edge. There can either be 3 going the same direction, or one of them can be going across the other 2 and dividing the platform into 6 little areas. They don't damage you, but they really do push you around quickly, so don't get caught in one for too long. Another spell she can cast is a ring that severely damages you if you touch it. It bobs up and down, so you should jump out of it when it's near the ground as soon as you can. And the last spell that I've seen is summoning a statue of herself that shoots a massive energy beam and continues rotating around until you destroy it. This statue always has a beam going in front of it, but can also have a second beam going straight behind too. This can get pretty chaotic with the bunnies that can also be bouncing around, so try to destroy the statue as fast as you can. Once you get the Maker down to about 10% health, she'll reveal her final attack that lasts for the rest of the game. Similar to the Banshee, she will create shockwaves in the air that you need to either jump over or crouch under. These attacks speed up the longer you're in this final phase, so try to kill her quickly. There won't be any other enemies around, so if you go down, you have to kill the Maker in order to get out of Save Your Soul mode. If you defeat the Maker, you will be rewarded with an incredible amount of crystals for beating her plus the other 3 raid bosses. I was only on Chaos 3 and generally wasn't picking hard modifiers for big crystal bonuses, and I still got over 3,600 crystals after that fight. If you found any part of this guide helpful, let me know by dropping a thumbs up. And feel free to subscribe for more in-depth guides in the future. Alright, that's all I got. I'll see you guys next time.